Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of 1000 Voices, where we are on a mission to interview 1000 inspirational Black Britons. And in voice number 29 of the podcast, we have the very inspirational Ire, the co-founder of the 2 Michelin star restaurant Ikoyi. Now, Ire is still fairly young and he's running the hugely successful Ikoyi restaurant. But what most people don't know is that this was not an overnight success. No, far from it. There was all sorts of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into making the restaurant as successful as it is. The story and the lessons that Ire has learned throughout his journey are hugely transferable to whichever industry you operate in. So, let's get into this interview. And without further ado, this is 1000 Voices, and here we have Ire, the co-founder of Ikoyi. Hello, good afternoon, Ire. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And thank you for coming to the podcast. Very, very much appreciated. Love what you and the team are doing with Ikoyi, and I was very, very excited to get you on. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, all good, man. To start off with, I always like to take it back, and work through things chronologically. So to start off with, can we start off talking about your childhood and essentially just paint a picture as to what your childhood was like and your upbringing?
Okay, so I was born in Lagos, in Nigeria, and I moved to the UK when I was about 14. I went to boarding school in Nigeria first, and then I went to boarding school in the UK, in South Derbyshire, uh, until after my A levels, and then I went to uni in London, and I've lived in London ever since then. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then did you go through any key experiences when you were growing up that you feel were key in you becoming the person who you are today?
Uh, I guess I guess I guess being in boarding school in both places makes you, I guess, independent, and it probably builds some confidence in you as well. I could obviously see the difference between being boarding school in Africa and being boarding school in the UK, and I use some of those differences to my advantage, I guess. Yeah, I think that was key. Also, I grew up. I have a medium-sized family. I guess I had three other siblings, and we have hardworking, loving parents. So I guess that was key as well.
Cool. Nice. And did you always know you wanted to go into entrepreneurship when you were younger as well?
Nope, actually, that was not the plan at all. The plan was to work. Was probably going to work with my family business. My family has an insurance business in Nigeria, uh, which uh, which was started by my grandfather, which my dad worked for, and as I'm the only boy, I was expected to do the same. So being an entrepreneur in London was not the plan.
That's quite interesting because I was looking at your LinkedIn and I see that after you finished your university, you went to work in insurance in London for a bit.
Yeah, I did, exactly. Yeah, I worked in insurance in London for 6 years. Yeah,
So was the idea to work in the insurance industry in London and then move over to Nigeria and then work in the family business?
exactly, exactly.
Right. Then, okay, so what happened then? After you worked in insurance for 6 years, what changed and led you to found a business, go, Ikoyi?
Well, I didn't. I'm not going to say that I hated it. Insurance in London was great. It was fun. It's a very social industry. It's a part of finance that nobody really knows much about. So I guess we're just left to our own devices. It's done in a very old school way. So I mean I had a good time. But I took time out to do a master's because I'd done my insurance exams, and I could do this master's in 6 months if I did it full time. So I thought, why not? So I did it, and I did it, and I was meant to go back to work after. But during the masters, I had a bit too much free time, because I had what 6, 7, 8 hours a week of lectures, and I used the time to rethink my whole life pretty much, and decided that I wasn't actually going to go back to work in insurance. I also didn't actually finish the masters.
Wow. What was the reaction from the family?
In fact, what was worse, I didn't even tell them I didn't finish. They found out because my sister's boyfriend was doing a master in the same university at the same time as me, and he was graduating, and my sister was going for his graduation, and she was wondering why I wasn't there because I should have been graduating with him. So that's how they found out. Yeah, but I mean, long story short, they eventually got over it. I decided that, I mean, I enjoyed insurance, but it wasn't really a passion, and I wanted to go to do something with hospitality, which was a passion. It didn't help that I was living with Jeremy at the time, who's my friend and business partner, who I only Ikoyi with, and he left his job in finance as well, while we were on holiday actually in New York, and he sent an email to his job saying that he wasn't coming back, which was a bit which was probably more of an intense leave than mine. He decided that he was going to become a chef. So I guess living with him, I caught the bug as well, and I did something similar. Even though my leave wasn't as extreme as his, I actually told everyone I was going and I wasn't coming back, and it was more progressive. But Jeremy's was just full on. One day he said he's not going back.
Mm. And you said his hospitality was a passion of yours. So have you always been into, growing up into, food and cooking and that side of things?
Well, it's not really the cooking on the food side. More of the like if it left to me, out of if I had the capital, I'd have opened a hotel before I opened a restaurant. But I think you have to start somewhere. More, I remember when I was younger, I always used to plan help people plan their holidays or plan trips or plan dinners out. I used to spend a lot of time researching restaurants in London, and people always used to call me as to where to go for dinner, or where's new to go, and I used to know all these things. And now I can't even think of how I used to know, because now if you ask me anything about London food scene, I have no idea. But then I was very people used to call me to even plan their summer holidays, where to take their kids on holidays, so where to how to rent accommodation, and so I used to help people do all those things. I guess linking people with hospitality venues was what I used to do, and I remember asking my dad once if I could, if he thinks I should do it as a just as a part time, and he was like, no, stick to your insurance, just stick, yeah. So I guess something in me will always wants to pursue that. I guess it's a desire to take care of people and to yeah, to help people in that way. I guess that's where comes from.
Nice, nice. And with Ikoyi, so it looks like it's your first sort of major business that you've run. And it's interesting because it's like the first major one, and then you've gone all out. Like you've gone for Space Piccadilly Circus, it's been very successful very quickly as well.
Hmm.
Maybe I guess there's more behind the scenes. There's this quote that my auntie always says, "What is it? They see the glory, but they don't see the story." So
Exactly.
yeah, they
Exactly.
see the restaurant, they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that's gone into it in the background. But
Hmm.
just on the
Yeah.
starting up phase, yeah, can you talk about the what it was like, how you went about starting it, and any challenges that you've had when you were just initially starting up the business?
Well, it took us probably 2.5 years to secure a space, the space we had, and we were looking all that time, and imagine spending 2 years working on a project, and everybody's asking you, oh, what do you do? Oh, we're opening a restaurant, and they ask you, where's the restaurant? Oh, we don't know. We're still looking for a space. So they think people begin to think you're a clown, and during that time, we started cooking for people, cooking for doing small events, and it was literally just both of us. So we'll hire a van, or we use my mom's car, we'll load it. Jeremy will spend the whole night cooking, and then we'll go drive to the venue. He'll cook, I'll serve, we'll do the dishes, we'll pack up again, and take everything back. I mean, it was a lot of work. So we used to spend our time doing that, cooking for as many different people as we could. We were lucky to have an event at Somerset House, which was the 154 Art Fair, which was the first thing we ever did, and we did it. It was, I mean, we probably shouldn't have done it because it was probably too ambitious, but we said we'll do it anyway, and it taught us many lessons, and that opened the door to other events, and because through that we met loads of people that came through the door, and especially the art galleries. So we did some events for them. Anyway, it took us 2.5 years because every time we go to a meeting with the landlords in central London, they'll be like, "So who wants to rent the space?" And we'll be like, "Us." Jeremy's half Chinese, half Canadian. I'm black, and and they thought we were about 12 years old, and they're wondering why these little young boys are coming here. Because if you look at the landlords in central London, they're all English, yeah, middle class, a bit older, and they don't really look like us. So it was a struggle convincing any landlord to take us seriously or to give us a space. They only give spaces to people who are opening their second or third restaurants, or people who have proven themselves somewhere else. Maybe you're proving yourself in your local area and you have a restaurant there, and then you want to, then they'll listen to you. So we probably applied for about 30 spaces in that time, and we didn't get any of them. And This one was a Crown Estate, who actually, funny enough, the space we're in now is the first ever space we applied for when it came up. This was back in 2014. It came up in 2014, and Jeremy learned to be through a contact, and we were so up for it then that we thought, actually, yeah, this is perfect, and we're definitely going to get this, because why wouldn't we get it? I mean, this is, but they told us no. We had to present to them. We had a meeting, everything. They said no, and 2 years down the line, the space was still available because nobody had taken it, and everything else in the development was leased, because that was the smallest space in development, smallest, pokiest space in the development. And then they decided that, okay, actually, we'll give these guys a shot. I mean, we've leased everything out, and this is the last one, so we can use this as a wild card, as the gamble space. So for that reason, they kindly let us in. And people ask us why we chose to be in that space. We didn't choose to be in that space. That's all we got. We couldn't have got had we didn't really have any options. So that's where we find ourselves, and we're extremely grateful to them for giving us the opportunity and giving us having some faith in us. But we also did really need those 2.5 years, because if they'd given it to us in the first time we applied, we would have fallen on our faces. But we needed those 2 years to work together, to work as a team, to start building some kind of team, and to really know what our product was and what we wanted to do. So I think that the time between applying for the first time and the second time was very necessary. It was necessary for us to grow.
That's a really good. I love that story. That's 2 years of hard work before you was even able to get that space. So that's really sick, and
Exactly.
something that we always got to keep in mind. You know, like things don't very rarely happen straight away. A lot of the time, it's a lot of work that goes into any kind of success.
I mean, also when we opened, it wasn't smooth sailing as well. So it hasn't. I mean, we've been lucky, but there's also been a lot of work that has to be done, and we've had to do a lot of grafting to get where we are.
For sure. When you spoke about when you first applied to when you finally got the space, there was 2 years, and then you had to go through a period of learning. Otherwise, you wouldn't have worked out the way you wanted it to work out. What changed, and what did you learn during that 2 years?
First of all, Jeremy has been a friend. We're friends since we were 15, and we were really good friends. Also, but then when you're friends with somebody, working with them is a total different ballgame. It took me 2 years to understand how it worked, and also to accept that, and to because we were getting frustrated with each other, and then I realized that actually my frustrations, it's not really anything to do with me. It's that's how he works in a certain way, and he does things in a certain way, and nothing to do with me. And if I just accept that's how it works, and then it's fine. and it took a while to get to that point. Also, we also learned lessons in how to do things. We didn't really know. I mean, none of us have run a catering or restaurant business before, and we didn't really know what we were doing. Even when we opened, we still didn't know what we were doing. It was still the blind leading the blind. Us trying to prove to our staff that we knew what we were doing, and them looking at us, and yeah. So it's just if you keep doing something over and over again, I guess with time you become better at it. So if we went in the first time, we would have definitely had issues. He also taught me. We also learned lessons about how to run a business, how to do your accounts, how to all those little things that come into running a business that people don't really think about or consider that are extremely important.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And did you have any financial challenges when you were starting out? Did you have to raise anything or you use savings when you were starting up?
We had to we had to beg people to part with their money. Well, to be fair, no, we're very lucky. We had investment from most of our investment in the restaurant is from family. So in that sense, we were lucky. But still, even if you had the funds, the landlords don't care. They don't care if you have. It's really the places they advertise the rent, and you don't make an offer based on the rent. So everyone who's making an offer is paying the rent, or they're probably offering more. So it's not a case of trying to get the best. No, 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 no. You either pay what they're asking for, or you forget about it, because once they see, like, you have like 20 different operators applying for the same space, and they pick based on the concept, based on who's presenting to them, based on if they want this concept in their estate, if they want it in that space, what it's going to do for the space. So the having the funds is not really, it's not, yeah, I mean, everyone that's speaking to them should have the funds. If you don't have the funds, then you're not even going to bother. So I think that was also a good lesson to learn, that really it's not you can have the finance, but doesn't mean that it's going to open the doors. The doors will still be shut, unless you can really prove yourself to the landlords.
Yeah, yeah. And how important has press been for Ikoyi's success? And how did you go about getting that kind of press coverage?
So press has, I mean, I don't know, press has helped us and has probably been not so helpful at the same time. I guess when we opened, we hired a PR company to take care of our press, because obviously we don't have any contacts in press, and I think the way we were pushed initially was to fill this space of an African restaurant in central London, which is not really what we were at the time, but we needed something to, I guess the PR company needed something to use to sell us. So initially I mean, everyone picked up on us being an African concept, which well, actually, probably more specifically, a Nigerian concept, which is not what we were, but I guess it helped the press get interested, because nobody else was doing that kind of food in central London. But also it also caused us problems, because people didn't. I mean, the Africans were coming to the restaurant and they're realizing, actually, this is not African food, and the Europeans were staying away because, oh, they're not going to go there because it's African food, and they don't really know what it is. People stay away from things that they're not really sure about. So they look at us from a distance and they say, oh, it looks interesting, but are they going to go there to have dinner with their friends and family? Probably not. It might be something that they might try when they're feeling crazy or wild, but we don't. What we needed is people to be coming into the door every day. So it didn't really help us that we were pitched that way, and also the press, we found they didn't really understand what we're doing either. So they kind of, if you look at our first few reviews, the reviews were kind, but they didn't really say much about what was going on. And I think the reviews had to be kind because they didn't know what was going on. They came in, and they'll have a bit of food, but they wouldn't ask us any questions, ask us what we're trying to do or anything. and so it seemed like they were also a bit confused as to what was going on there, and that confusion led to it didn't really help because in our first year, after our first year, we were at the brink of closure actually because nobody was coming in. I mean, we had the initial rush at the beginning where people rush in and they want to try something new. But from January, I mean, we opened in July. From the next January, it went really quiet, and by June, we were looking to shut the doors. And because of this confusing place where we were, where people didn't really know what the concept was, and some people thought it was African, some people knew it wasn't African, and so everyone was, people were not, no one really embracing what we were because they didn't really know what we were. So I think the press probably didn't help that. Although they exposed us to, I mean, to people, they didn't really help in bringing people in. Yeah, which because our messaging was a bit confusing, to be fair. And at that time, we are also trying to be everything to everyone. So when we first opened, we were doing about 100 covers a day, and people were paying. This price point was about 30 pounds, £35 a head, and people were coming in. They ordered a bowl of rice between two for sit on the table for 2 hours. So that's £20 in 2 hours, and considering that we're paying rent in St James's, that doesn't really cut it. So I think further along the line we decided it was actually being on the brink of closure that made us decide actually this is what we're going to do, and we're just going to do this, and we're just going to cater to these people, and we're going to be more focused. And then lo and behold, it actually helped, and it worked, and it helped us stay open.
So, in what way did you change the communication after that? When that June 2018 point, and how did you like communicate that new message out as well?
Well, the thing is, we didn't actually use much press. We made a decision in house, and we were like, if since we're going to close, then we're going to go out doing what we want to do, and just giving our best shot because we had nothing to lose at that point. So we decided that the a la carte was going to go because it wasn't working for us. If we were going to only have 20 or 15 people coming in, we want to know that they're spending a certain amount of money so that we know we can do some math, and we can actually calculate how much we need to make to stay open. And so we decided to scrap it and put in a tasting menu, which is actually what Jeremy and I were doing before we opened when we were cooking for people. So every time we'll do an event, we'll always do a tasting menu, and we'll do a few courses, and do it that way. And that's probably what we're good at. And so we decided to bring that back and take away the a la carte. And people then started to see it more as an experience because they were coming in for the tasting menu, and that's all we were doing. So and also we could price. I mean, I think the first tasting menu was £60 or £65, and with that we could say, okay, even if we had 20 covers, we know how much we're going to make at the end of the day, we can do we can plan based on that. So I think I don't remember us making any big press release about this. I think we just did it, and people. I think what saved us was word of mouth. Also, with the tasting menu, we didn't need to have as many people coming through the door as we did with the a la carte because the spend per head was now closer to 70 or £80 rather than 30. So for that, we probably needed less people. And I think the less people we need to fill the restaurant, it's probably better because then we didn't really have to use press to get that many people through the door.
That's it. That's nice. That's nice. And during the COVID pandemic, how did hospitality was hit very, very hard? How did you and your team cope during that period?
Well, I think what COVID was okay for us. It wasn't actually the worst because the business was probably was getting quite solid right before COVID, and we were in an okay place. Also, another decision we made in June 2018 was we told our team that actually to stay open, we had to be excellent in every way. So everything that we did had to be done super well. We had to be better than every other restaurant in everything. We had to try a bit harder because we just thought that's what would keep us open. And luckily for us, that mentality led to the first Michelin star, which came in October that same year. And that changed the business because people were now coming in, people that, I mean, officers above us that never came down, people around us. Once Michelin said it was okay, they started coming through the door. So that Michelin pretty much saved our business, and we're very grateful to them because people needed that record, and people also stopped asking what kind of food we did. Well, once Michelin said it was okay, nobody cared about the concept anymore because it had been certified by Michelin, so it was fine. So so that really helped us to grow creatively and help the business, taking us to the point where well before the pandemic. So as I said, we were quite in a strong position. And luckily for us, our landlord was the Crown, so they were also very understanding during the pandemic. For the whole estate, for all their tenants, they reduced the rents and they scaled it back up every quarter as the pandemic was ending. So for rents we were fine. The government was kind enough to pay the staff through furlough, and we also had a few grants from the government. So it wasn't the worst thing about the pandemic was not knowing how long it was going to go on for us, and not knowing what was going to happen to the business because it took a while. I mean, after the first lockdown, we had the second one, and then so we didn't really know. I mean, we couldn't wait around for the rest of our lives. We had to know if this is something that we're going to put to the side and move on, or if we're going to be able to reopen again. So that was the main worry. Apart from that, the first 2-3 months, I was pleased with because it meant that I could have some time off work, and we've been working really hard, and it was good to have that time to kind of to recoup and to take care of ourselves, and also to think again and refresh, you know. So to an extent, the pandemic wasn't the worst. I mean, the second lockdown was harder than the first, but it wasn't the worst time for the business because of the understanding of our landlords and the government help that we received.
Yeah, that's great. If you could give any piece of advice, what's the one piece of advice to give to someone who's an entrepreneur that's either looking to get into the hospitality industry or just someone that's in general wanting to start their own business?
Yeah, it's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be comfortable either. You will go through periods where you be like, I can't do this, or you think it's too much, or you think nothing is working. But I think the test is being able to move on from that, and being able to pick yourself up and keep going, because really nothing actually does come easy, and people think once they start things, something things are meant to work, and yeah, you start getting momentum, but it's where you're getting the momentum, something will happen and push you back, but it's just having the courage and the strength to carry on. And I recommend anyone who's looking to open a business to do so to get a business partner, because really on your own it's quite hard. If you have somebody else you can share the responsibility with, someone you can bounce ideas off, someone you can trust, I think it makes it a lot easier as well. But I think, yeah, the main piece of advice would be to just to keep going, even when it seems impossible, or things are, even when all the doors are shutting, to just keep going, and eventually it'll pay off.
And what's next for Ikoyi?
Well, I, we are. I don't know if I'm supposed to. I meant to say this. So, well, we are moving the restaurant to a different location. Uh, that by the end of the year would have moved, and the location would be bigger than the space we have now, and I guess that will help us grow the restaurants in a different way, take it to the next level, and yeah, once we settle in there, and things are going okay, that then we can speak about doing anything else. But our focus now is just on this restaurant, and just growing this more a bit more and seeing what happens after that. But I guess the next big thing would be the move.
Nice, nice. All right, perfect. I like to move on. Yeah, ask you a couple more reflective type questions. Yeah, and then we'll round up after that. So, first question I've got for you is, what has life taught you recently?
I guess thing is, life always goes, life continues. Life just goes on, and no matter where you think, no matter what's going on, you think something happens in your life that you think is the worst thing ever, or you think it's something you're never going to recover from, or something that's going to change your life completely. The next day the sun is still going to rise, and life goes on. I mean, I think it's also a bit sad. It's a sad thing about life. It always goes on. It doesn't really stop or pause for you to mourn, or for you to reflect. It goes on. So you just have to pick yourself up and carry on, or you get left behind.
Mm, nice. All right, next one. What gets you excited about life?
If you ask my friends or anyone that knows me, I don't really possess the emotion of anticipated excitement, because I kind of got rid of it as a child. So I get excited about things in the moment when they're happening. I try not to get excited before, but if what excites me about life, I guess people are and our differences, and how we how we work through those, and just different cultures, different people, and I think, yeah, I think the people are the thing that excites me the most about life, I think. And I would love to learn more and more about different cultures and different types of people, and I find that exciting.
That's nice. That's nice. I like that we spoke about trying to be more in the moment. I think because I think a lot of people when we live in our heads too much, it can cause all sorts of things. You know, it can be, and I think it's
Yeah,
best just to live in the moment. As best as we can. So that's really good.
exactly. And everyone encourages people to plan. People ask you what your next 5 years plan is, but can you really plan 5 years of your life? I mean, now I think the pandemic has shown us, if anything, that really you can only plan so much, and you should just live day after day to an extent. I mean, not that you shouldn't make any plans for your future, but you have to you have to learn to live from one day to the other, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's only so much control we have. So I think living, and also being present, in the sense that not living through a phone, or being living through a social media, or living through pictures, but living, actually being able to connect to the people in your immediate surroundings, and people around you, and things around you, as opposed to always projecting something that you want the world to see, which is not really real. So I think that's really important, especially now.
Definitely, that's great. That's great. If you could go back and start all over again, what would you or would you do anything differently?
I don't think I would do anything differently, because I think every mistake, or everything that I've done is part of the journey and part of the process, really. Even if there probably have been a few mistakes, I think I'll still want to make them, because they've led me to where I am now. So yeah, I don't think I think I'll probably do the same thing again.
And last question, what does the next chapter in your own personal story look like?
I guess it's just to keep growing in every way I can, to keep grow the business, and hopefully in a few years time do something else, whether it will be around Ikoyi, or a different concept entirely. That we'll see. But I guess now, I think for the last 5 years we've been working hard, and trying to grow the business, and really doing the grafting. But I think the next chapter will be actually to do something with that. So to probably make something out of all the hard work that we've put into it so far.
That's that. I'm all done. Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed speaking with you about Ikoyi. Really got some really good insights, especially the fact when you're talking about the work that goes into it behind the scenes. I think oftentimes we can forget about that and just see the Instagram and think yes, but You're grinding for a few years before that. Hard work. Before we wrap up, have you got anything you want to say in closing? And also, if people want to keep up to date with yourself, with Ikoyi, where should they be looking?
Instagram probably Ikoyi underscore London is a handle. I guess that's probably the most updated social channel that we have. Yeah, if there's one thing I would say, it would be just I think the one thing that life doesn't cheat is hard work. Um, yeah, no matter what it is, hard work is always rewarded at the end. So it's something that if you put in the time, there will be a reward at some point.
Well, thank you so much once again for coming to the podcast. Very much enjoyed our discussion today. And that's that. So this is 1000 Voices. That was Ire of Ikoyi. And for now, people, we're out. Okay, that's voice number 29 done and dusted. Thank you for tuning in, and we really do hope that you've enjoyed this interview today. As always, it's great to hear back from the community, so please do leave us a comment or a review on your preferred platform with some feedback on what you thought about this episode and what you think about the 1000 Voices concept in general. As always, our next episode will be dropping next week, Tuesday, on all major podcasting platforms. So please do follow us on our social media pages at 1000 Voices UK on all major platforms to keep up to date with that before it drops. And that's that for now, people. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, this is 1000 Voices, and we're out.